Good morning, Deed Grabbers. Welcome to Goat Talk this morning from lovely Portland. It is a cloudy, rainy morning in Portland. Imagine that. I want to welcome you this morning. We've got a couple of students going to pop in here today. We've got Mark Pantak here. Good to see you, Mark.
Good to see you.
Guys, if you're on Facebook, make sure that you let Facebook know who you are. So when you comment, we can see your name and say good morning to you. If you're on YouTube, that's great. Subscribe to us while you're over there. We put out content all the time, podcasts and tips on real estate and all that sort of thing. So let's take a look who we got. Marcia, good to see you. Richard, good to see you. Sarah's here this morning. Gosh, we got a lot of stuff going on in real estate this week, and we're going to bring on, hey, we've got another student in here. We're going to bring him in. Hey, Kevin, good to see you on here this morning. How are you? We can't hear you, but we can see you. Looks like Kevin's out there patrolling in Washington, keeping the streets safe. It was good to see you all this morning. We've may have a couple of students pop in this morning. We're going to talk about a couple of things. I don't know if your mic is on, Kevin, but good to see you. Let's see here. Okay, Joni's here. Good to see you, Joni. James. Zillow. Gosh, guys, everybody's talking about Zillow. The big player in the market tapped out and said, we've had enough. We've lost 550. Looks like we'll lose $550 million on our buys. What do you guys think about that? Mark, I know you have an opinion on it.
Well, you know, right from the start, when I saw these buyers and I'm looking at their criteria, I'm thinking to myself, where are you factoring in all your costs? And that's the thing I've seen with some of these corporate types that are more into raising capital, which they were very good at, of course, and then they just don't fully understand. It's sort of like the stock market. It's like what I saw is that, like in the note buying space, which I'm also in, that buying paper, but when it came to the management side and the rehab side, they didn't understand fully how localized, time consuming, and other factors. So when I'd see these iBuyers buying at like 90%, now I did offer some, but they were the properties that were not newer and not nicer and not bigger. So they did at least have some basic criteria. And if they would actually hold on, there's a lot of hype, you know, but if they'd actually just hold on, I think in long term, they'll be okay, because some of the quality of properties, I know in Houston in particular, were the better neighborhoods. Some of these were 2-story properties. They would rent well, but they were just overpaying. And it was just because you got somebody who's being hired and they're not doing it based upon the right criteria. It's like, you know, you give somebody $100 gift card at Walmart and say, go buy $100 worth of stuff. Well, you know, they're going to just grab anything off the shelf, not necessarily go shopping for the best deals. And so I think that there's a lot of hype around this, and the Texas law situation too. Most of this, there's hype that just the masses get scared and they don't do a homework. But I see Zillow going out of the market being a good thing from the standpoint of there's still going to be iBuyers, and some people I know that have done very well selling to these iBuyers. Same with these hedge funds. I know in Birmingham here, I've talked to some who'd pay a lot more than any other buyers. And so somebody wholesaling property, it's been an opportunity.
Absolutely. Kevin, did you have anything on that you wanted to add? I know you post a lot about market trends and those things. Did you have anything to add on the whole Zillow thing? I don't know. We're still not getting any sound off of Kevin, so I don't know what's up with that. Marcia said, I think they tried to manipulate the market and lost. And Ben said the market just got a whole lot bigger. Absolutely, it did. I'll tell you, it just happened. And you're already seeing, I mean, of course, we've been seeing that for the last couple of months anyway, a slowing of the market, price reductions, sellers that were more open to negotiation and that sort of thing. I read an interesting article, and there have been a million of them this week, that I had never really considered. And one article said that they suspect Zillow left the marketplace because to avoid antitrust lawsuits, because for a long time now, that's what you hear from the vast majority of sellers. Zillow says my property's worth, so it's becoming the standard way for people to determine market value. Whatever Zillow says is right. Maybe not to investors or appraisers, but to the general population. So they control what people think houses are worth. And between being able to manipulate that and then go out and buy all these properties and then control what the perceived value is, that became a big factor in them deciding it may be best to just exit the marketplace. I know it was an interesting take on it for sure, but anyway, I don't know. Maybe let's see what everybody else has to say about it. Yeah, Marcia, Ben, okay. All right, no other comments right now. Listen, if you guys have just general real estate questions, we'll be glad to take those for you as well while we're on here today. Kevin, did you ever get that mic working? No? Okay. We're just going to look at your pretty face today. We won't hear you, but we'll look at you. What's that? Let's we'll take you out of the studio, bring you back in, and see if that helps. So we'll do that. So the next big thing that and this has been going on too, is Texas. As it gets closer, people are talking more about it. The new RAP law that is coming up in Texas, January the 1st. And I know, Mark, that's why I wanted you to come on today, because you buy a lot of property in Texas, and I don't have a ton of experience in Texas. So it's really pretty restrictive with regard to what seller finance investors can do. The penalties are what, the things that the law is going to make necessary aren't that big a deal for the most part. The penalties are curious, though, and very strict. What do you think about that?
Well, the biggest thing I see about this when I looked over, that was part of my plan, is study in more depth a little bit this morning. And it was along the lines of, I remember when the SAFE Act came out and the CFPB, and people were freaking out, and it was the end of the world, stuff like that. But if you drill down and look at it, it's the kind of thing that people should be doing to protect the consumer anyways. And those of us that integrity matters, we're typically going to use an attorney. We're typically going to make sure we're complying with the law and title company, different things like that. And it's just amazing to me, because as a note buyer, when I've been out here, there's a lot of paper, that's seller finance paper, that it's like they didn't comply with the rules or the laws and had no idea, no clue. And just a couple good, it's sort of like the guy that fixes the house, but he doesn't know how to fix a house. Oh, I can fix anything. And then you come back and now you got to redo it. I see that with paperwork a lot as a note buyer. Right. That's like, I'm sorry, we're going to have to go back and redo this. It's not done right. And so I think that as long as the overreach is not too severe, most of the thing I see, I don't have a problem with. I can work with, I can live with. Now, the other thing is the little loopholes. We're always, where there's any area here, what's the legal loophole? And part of that is the no more than 3. So that's one of the reasons why people say to me all the time, why do you take on these students and why do you work with people? Well, because they're the one that's never done a note before. And we want to make sure everything's right, so all parties are protected. But using the attorney and everything else, if they've never done one before, we take them through the process, make sure all the, cross the T's, dot the I's, all that kind of stuff. Now they're originating. And with them originating, I now become a note buyer versus a note originator. So the law doesn't apply to me or my Roth IRA. Typically, my focus is my Roth IRA is buying a second that we've created. So there's a first we sell off that preferably we're going to get close to par. And there's a second. And like in the RAP situation, my goal is to be able to come in and buy that wrap position, but I'm very familiar with all the parties, all the details, all the nuances. So it's a low risk wrap for me. And then that way, somebody who's new, who doesn't have the money, doesn't have the experience, they can actually sell that wrap position. But it's more difficult to sell a wrap, as you know. In the market, a lot of people shy away. But if you know all the particular details and the credit, and I mean, I drill down on like a complete package, whether I'm originating a loan or whether I'm doing a wrap. I like to have all the attorney, the everything, all the details. So there's a problem, because it does happen where somebody dies, there's a bankruptcy, there's whatever. You got to anticipate that going in, and that's why I recommend so many people to join your training, because your training is so good with all the paperwork and all the details that I really appreciate.
Hey, I appreciate that, Mark. Listen, we've got, let's see, Stephen, good to see you this morning. Ken, good to see you. We've got somebody on here, don't have their name. Out of curiosity, do you know how many units Zillow purchased? I think one of the articles that I read said that they had purchased over 7,000 houses. Does that
Yes.
sound the same for you guys? Yeah. So yeah, a bunch. I mean, Zillow, obviously, I mean, they were your biggest competitor in your marketplace. I think, I don't know, Mark may buy more than that, but oh gosh.
Not for what I do.
Marcia says over 9,000. So Marcia is a superstar realtor down there in Florida, so she would know. So 9,000. All right, guys, gosh, that's a bunch. So we got a lot of people commenting and saying good morning. I can't say good morning to you because I don't know who you are. It says Facebook user. Go to StreamYard.com/Facebook and click a button and let everybody know who you are so we can say good morning to you. Kevin, you get that mic working? Not yet. Okay. Well, hopefully soon. Get that thing going and come back and visit with us. We want to talk to you. I know you keep up with what's going on in the marketplace. So get that thing working and come back.
Love Kevin's post and input. Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of great information for sure. So this Texas law limits you obviously to 3 transactions within a 12-month rolling period. A curious thing in here, before with some of their laws, there was this thought, and because we're always looking for ways to work around something and make it easier to do. And so one of the thoughts was that I'll just use different entities. I'll form a different LLC, or I'll maybe even a trust. Maybe one property per trust means that we never do more than 3. Wink, wink. Well, they specifically addressed that in this particular law. If you're involved in these multiple entities or trust in some way, it all goes under your umbrella there. So they took that away. You must, of course, provide mortgage disclosures with loan balance, lender name, account number, a way to contact them. And you got to do that from number 1. Okay. You don't get a three deal pass with that. The disclosure on that, the disclosure on insurance. And here's the one: you must actually be licensed or registered to originate mortgage loans. You can't rent a mortgage officer anymore. To do that, you actually have to be. I know I spent a lot of time, I don't know, 20, 30 minutes on the phone with Scott Horn the other day talking about it and what the workarounds were. And so essentially, some of the stuff that we talked about was actually having someone set up as a licensed individual to do the whole deal, the whole shebang, the qualifying, the financing, the underwriting, the closing, and then they just assign you the note and getting it done that way. Is that what you're hearing is probably?
Well, and that was one of my questions in the paperwork there. So are they saying even if you're somebody who's never done one before and this is your very first one, you have to have a mortgage license to sell your own home?
Absolutely. Well, no. If it's your personal residence, you can sell it with seller financing. Okay.
Okay.
But Otherwise, if it's not, if you're an investor, okay, you are going to have to be a licensed mortgage professional to underwrite, to originate that, to make a note. You're going to
See, now
have to be.
that to me is an overstep of the law from the standpoint of like the RMLO, that
Mhm.
you can hire an RMLO to do that, and I think that's fine. This is where I think
Right.
that going and having the what do you call that? You know, Jeff Watson and some of the other attorneys just did a great job with the IRA, that people were freaking out, and they went to
Mhm. Right.
Congress and they helped with rewriting or adjusting some things on that was foolish. And so I
Mhm.
think that's an overreach there, that everyone, but you know, it goes back to like one of the other people I know says, it's just the government having a way to tax people by
Right.
having you have to get licensed.
Right.
It's a combination of control and taxing. It's not necessarily protecting people, because I think that they should have made a provision that on your first three, you could go hire a qualified third party loan
Right.
originator
I
to
agree.
me to
That
do
that's
it
pretty
correctly.
strict.
Yeah.
And the other thing here now, which, like I said, most of these I don't disagree with. I've always taught students, on the buy side, I rarely do a closing in a title company or with an attorney. It's just too easy to do it another way, and remotely it just worked best for me. Now, closing with a seller on the sell side, you absolutely want all the I's dotted, all the T's crossed, because that's your most likely point of someone coming back and making a problem for you later. You snookered me some way, you took advantage of me. So you want all of those things taken care of. Now it's required that you close on the sell side at a title company or an attorney's office. And if you don't, that contract you have with that buyer is never valid, ever. I mean, from the moment of inception, it is not valid. So, I mean, there's some real. That's what Scott and I were talking about. There's some real teeth in this thing. They're not playing around with this stuff. So, the disclosures must be in the borrower's native language, whatever that language may be, even if they're fluent in English, whatever their native language is. So you've got to provide 2 copies of all those things. So and there's also a provision in there that, and this I found this interesting too, that they're promoting the note creator, okay, as having a fiduciary responsibility to the buyer. So that's one of the reasons that whoever, if you're going to get someone to originate these things for you, to do them all for you, and then assign it to you, they're taking on all the liability. Okay. So because they take on all the liability, if anyone comes back and sues them or does whatever, that's going to create an issue. Now, and what that invites is consumer protection laws to intervene if they ever feel like there's any kind of a misstep. So it also says that they can go undercover and start, if they suspect, if someone reports you, if they start suspecting that there's some kind of an issue, they can go undercover as a potential buyer and come in and do an investigation on you. So, I mean, it's all really scary stuff when you think about it. So, anyway, I think we lost Mark. Maybe he'll be back and join us. Let's see. Jared said it was only about 10 years ago Texas would allow a cash out refi or HELOC. Regarding property laws, the state is ridiculously overprotective. It has much to do with state strong homestead laws. Yep, I know. When I was talking with Scott about it, I said, and I think I said this in the coaching group the other day too. It seems almost not the norm for Texas is just known for freedom and all kind of stuff, and this just seems so restrictive. It seems it doesn't seem to go along with everything else. So there's obviously some things in play here that we don't necessarily know about, lobbies and things like that are involved in getting some of these laws done. What do you think about it?
Well, you know, when you look at what the requirements are, the bar of the attorneys and the title companies, yeah, they could have people that say, yeah, we love that idea, where it's required.
Yeah.
So, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can. Michael had a question. Any insight into purchasing properties as Airbnb rentals? Absolutely not. I don't. I'll tell you, I haven't had any type of rental in any way now in almost 12 years. I just don't do it. We do all seller financing. I'm not interested in anybody calling me at any time to come fix something. We were we were having a conversation with our landlord. We rent corporate rentals now, furnished corporate rentals where we travel, and we were talking about real estate last night and about why owner financing is superior because I had called him to complain about the Wi-Fi not working properly. And I said, see, if you sold me this house with seller financing, I would have never called you to do that. So anyway, we were talking about the advantages of doing that. We're gonna bring Kevin. What about you, Mark? You do any Airbnbs?
Not yet, but I am looking into that. The reason why I hesitated at first, because it was so, like you're talking, one of the things I like and respect about you, where you're talking about simplifying things and,
Mhm.
avoid costly complications, things like that. I still do believe in having some long-term rentals simply from the standpoint of property appreciation, but it's
Mhm.
very selective. And
Right.
typically my attitude is when I go in, I buy these properties and I fix them 100% correctly. So new hot water heater, new everything. So those things normally don't break down for the first 5 years. So my
Mhm.
experience as a landlord is done right. There isn't much to fix that first 5 years, and then there's typically an exit strategy to either redo it or. But to me, because I study people and they've got well, I don't know if you know John out of Sarasota that he's got a bunch like 40 or something. But I study the guys that they figured out the niche and that. So I like your program, but I also like the program of hanging on to a few for that appreciation. So, but the short-term
Mhm.
rentals, I'm looking into that. I still see there's a lot of speculation, and especially when you get COVID hits, and now people are not traveling or people not renting. And I helped a lady that had a property in New Mexico, and she was just freaking out, saying, "Oh my gosh, everybody canceled." This was like March of 2020, and I said, "No, this is an opportunity. You got to think like an entrepreneur." And she ended up renting everything out by repositioning and making a special and discount, and then
Mhm.
everybody's so happy. She got 5 stars. So this year, back to normal pricing. But if you're going to do short-term rentals, you better have the right mindset of being an entrepreneur and not think you're going to be passive.
Right. I'll tell you, we stayed in some pretty nice places, pretty pricey. I can see the attractiveness of it, but as with anything else, you have to look at your lifestyle, the one that you want to have, and just, yeah, you can hire management people. I get that, guys, before y'all all start telling me, well, we don't touch anything, we don't do anything, somebody else does it for you. Okay, that doesn't always go well. Okay, nobody's going to manage your asset or protect your money like you do. And I just don't like to have to think about it. I want to buy a house, put a buyer who is just thrilled to be able to have a house in it that has given me a sizable down payment. Chances are they're going to do everything that they can under the sun to stay and keep that house. And then I don't want to think about it anymore. And that's just how I like
I,
things.
I, I do have a quick question regarding that, William. Do
Mhm.
you ever buy any of your properties in a Roth IRA that you're buying subject to? I'm curious.
You know what? I haven't. I haven't done that yet, and should be. Jody stays on me all the time about it. We should be doing it,
Mm-hmm.
especially at our age, or my age. She's still, she's a young puppy, but I'm getting older every day, so definitely need to do that for sure. Uh, Michael said, "Can you talk about seller financing?" Can I? Gosh, absolutely, I can. I can talk about seller financing all day. In fact, we teach a class, and I don't know if we've got one out there somewhere where you can access this or not. We call it 12 Houses to Freedom: How to Create a $500,000 a year income inside of 36 months using seller financing. It's a combination of subject to and seller financing. It lets you buy all the houses that you want with no banks, no loans, no credit. You buy one house a month, and by the end of at a median price range of 250, which is pretty easy now. Even the lower price markets have nice homes in the 250 range. You buy one house a month, you sell it with seller financing, collect a 10% down payment, average $400 to $500 a month cash flow, and a $14,000 back end. And these are very low equity properties. In fact, the example that I use is a $250,000 house that you get with a balance of $240,000, which is essentially no equity. But it's got a nice 3% fixed rate, 30-year mortgage, 1 or 2 years in. Maybe it's a VA loan. Somebody bought a house. They financed 100% of it. They're getting transferred. They need to sell. They would have to come out of pocket $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 to sell with a realtor, so they can't afford to do that. But if you'll say, listen, I'll make your payments so I can get a buyer, they'll say, would you really do that? In a lot of cases. So you buy that house, you sell it with 10% down, you price it about 8% above market at the moment, which is a no-brainer because they're selling for way more than that now. Get 10% down, get that $500 a month in cash flow. You can make $50,000 to $60,000 over the course of 36 months on a no equity house that way. Now you buy one a month, and at the end of the first year, you make it over $300,000 between down payments, cash flow. By the end of the third year, when they start cashing you out, your income will be over $600,000 a year. Yeah, I can talk about seller financing all day. I love it. So absolutely. Hey, Sherman, good to see you. Sherman's a new coaching student. Pam says, I love short-term rentals. I know you do, Pam. You know, you got the link. You can jump in here if you want to and help Michael out here. He's wanting to know about short-term rentals and how they work. If Cindy's around, I know she does some as well. Mike said, William, you're firing me up with your 12 houses plan. Listen, it's great, you know, and the reason that I put that together was so many teachers now out there. I don't know what the thing is. Everybody thinks it's a great thing to act like you hustle 24 hours a day. But I'm telling you, at some point in your life, you're going to want to live your life and not spend it all working. If you want a job working 80 hours a week, there's a million of them out there you can choose from, especially today. I got into real estate because I was tired of working 70, 80 hours a week. I wanted some time. Yeah. Where would you find that course? Michael, I'll tell you, we talk about it all the time in our Sub 2 Max coaching group. And if you want to go take a look at that, I think I've got something here that'll tell you how to find it. Mark is in the group, and go to sub2dealscoach.com. Gosh, we live that program in there. Ready, fire, aim, 12 houses to freedom. So join us in the group. I don't know, Mark, you have comments on the group? I know you enjoy it.
And I remember back in the day when you used to charge the bigger prices, like $5,000 to $10,000 for coaching. And I was looking at, man, this guy really knows subject to. He's gone from working all those hours in the hospitality industry to doing this 12 houses. And of everything out there, especially we got the perfect storm right now where we got the demand with the appreciation on houses. We got these VA loans, like you said. We got the low interest rates. I think of everything I've looked at, and I've been around this for 30 years, I think you got the best program for somebody who's trying to figure out how do I get free quickly, that 12 houses with the numbers, with the low interest rate, the combination. And then what you're charging is just such a bargain for how much you offer. And it's like no contract. I mean, I'm telling people like virtually every day, you need to join William's program because you can just try it out for 30 days. There's no contract. And most people, they're going to say, wow, there's so much value here. They're going to keep going. I think it's very smart on your part, what you've offered. And you got some great students that really are knowledgeable that you can learn from and network with. So I don't know of any program that I'd recommend more than yours right now of everything I see out there. And I've looked at everything out there, and I really like yours the best. And I'm still trying to learn how to simplify like you've got, which I think is very smart. But so my goal is to do the 12 because I've done over the years, but of course, you know, these subject to do end up cashing out a lot of times. So you got to replace them. But that's why right now I'm focused on, I like that VA. And so I've got some markets, like there's some places in Texas and North Carolina and even in Florida. They've got military bases that I'm focused on to target those areas to pick up some of those that have low equity.
Well, you know, and VA loans are great. Of course, the foreclosures are starting to trickle back in, and now Zillow's out of the marketplace. I'm telling you right now is prime time. Get out there, cold call if that's not your thing. Mail a card or letter, knock on a door, go out to your pre-foreclosures. But the 12 houses to freedom is really, it's something anyone can do. If you work a job, you can put out enough marketing, whether it's just bandit signs or whatever it may be, to buy one house a month. And then you look up in 12 months and you banked $300,000. Can you quit your job? Absolutely, you can. I'm sorry. Okay. My producers tell me. So, hey, Kevin, you got a mic now? No. Well, we've had fun watching you today. Anyway, always a pleasure to see you, buddy. So it's great seeing you. See if you can get it to work and come back and join us. We're trying to get Pam or Cindy or somebody to come on here and talk about Airbnbs for just a little bit. So anyway, it's good to see you. We're going to have dinner one night next week, maybe. Yeah, we're going to drive up somewhere close to Washington anyway. So, all right, buddy, you take care. Get that mic working, jump back on. He's just a talking man. I can't tell anything he's saying. Hey, Phil, good to see you. Farouk's in here. Good to see my buddy Farouk, man. He's killing it. Ed should jump on and talk a little bit to us. He's right up
Ed
here.
Should jump on.
Ed, we're gonna go out to we're gonna try to go out to dinner one night next week. Round some of you guys up. Let's see. Marcia says she was part of another group and they charge way more. Listen, there are a lot of coaches out there, and there are a lot of good coaches out there. But for the most part, they're very expensive. It's $10,000 to $50,000 up front. And listen, if they teach you how to do something that will change your life, is it worth it? You better believe it. There's a lot of people that can't afford that. Now, can you afford $297 a month? Maybe you can, maybe you can't. I've met people that couldn't, and hey, that's the way it is. You got to piece some stuff together. Then you got to work a lot harder. We've got a coaching group right now that's $7 a month. Do you get as much of my time? Not quite, but I will answer your questions, and there's a lot of material in there. But the premium coaching is $297 a month. We spend a lot of time. We have about a dozen meetings a month, and we have a really great group of people in there. We got some real players. So if anybody's interested, we'd love to have you. Let's see. Michael has another question here. Are there any tax benefits to having your real estate license if you plan on doing the sub-2 hustle? I think personally that having a license has more negatives than positives. You can get access to anything that a realtor can give you by either making a contact with a realtor or, with some of the programs they've got out there for comps and things like that. So I think the liability issues are heavier. Now, there are some investors that have their license. They do very well. So obviously there are a lot of schools of thought on that. So, and the cool thing is nobody's wrong. Okay. If it works for you, it works for you. Personally, I've never had a license. I don't want to have one. I don't want to have to disclose on every piece of marketing that I do that I'm a licensed agent. I don't want to have to tell every seller that I meet that I'm a licensed agent. I just don't want to do it. So that's me. How about you, Mark? I don't know. Maybe we've lost Mark again. So let's see what we got. Hey, Renee, good to see you. Do I have to be in the coaching already to have the $7 monthly membership? No, you don't. No, not at all. You can join. Actually, I think you may already be in that $7 group now. Not sure. So I'll message me later, and we'll talk a little bit about that. So it looks like we may have lost Mark again. I think he's having some connectivity issues. Okay. If you guys got any questions, just let us have those. Pam says, I agree. I do not want a real estate license. Absolutely. I just don't want the liability that comes with that. So anyway, there he is. I think he's back now. So Mark, if you're back, we were talking about licensing.
Yeah. I'm looking at getting my license, and because again, it goes sort of like the Texas laws, I think it's good to disclose things. And again, it depends on your goals. Can you hear me? I don't know if I'm
I can't
connected
hear you.
enough. You can?
Yeah, I
Okay.
can't hear you. Yeah.
But the one other thing I was thinking about, in your group that people don't realize is how you put all the pieces together, like the prop stream with Burton, and then you've got
Mhm.
Nick with the cold calling and the VAs, and it's just you've really gone the extra mile to make it so easy for people who are working full time, who don't have the time. Now, again, there's going to be a little bit of investment, but you've made such good arrangements with all the pieces in terms of follow up. So I'm actually working with somebody new right now that I told them they should join your group because, again, there's so many benefits, but we're working to implement all these different pieces that you've got. And again, I think you've done a fantastic job of pulling everything together. And I agree with you that, for most people that are not into being landlords and that, is better. Don't get your license. Don't be a landlord. Just do your program, get your 12 houses. Just focus on that one thing. And because I see so many people, the only focus is home.
I think we lost Mark again there. Maybe he'll be back in just a second. Yeah, Pam said too many regulations and upfront conversations with potential sellers. Absolutely. And then there's the continuing education and everything else that you've got to do. If you're just not into that sort of thing, then that's that's not what you want to do there. So as far as licensing goes, I wouldn't recommend it. Um,
Sorry about that.
that's okay. So are you back? Nope. Okay. Well,
Well,
try to get that.
I see it spinning. I don't know if you can hear me.
I can hear you. I can't see you. Yeah, and
Oh, you
Reed
can
says
hear me.
more dues.
All right.
I know she's licensed in Colorado Springs, so maybe Marcia. Um, oh my goodness. So anyway, so what do you think about licensing, Mark? Have you ever had a real estate license? What do you think about that?
I've never had my real estate license. I've had a lot of people that, there's been the pros and cons over the years. And I know a lot of people who had their license and let their license go for the very reasons you're saying. So what I
Mhm.
was saying there before I had a little connectivity problem is that I agree with everything you said. The reason I'm here is because you're smarter than me. And you figured some things out. And so like you said, you used to do the lease options and all the different things, and now you just narrowed. I think it's so smart that you buy properties that are newer, that don't need the rehab. You just everything you refined over the years because you didn't start out like that. And so I remember I was around and sort of lurking back when you first got started and seriously considering paying the big bucks back before you went to Belize when you offered your program and stuff like that. Matter of fact, I think I might have met you at an event that was like in Florida or someplace you were speaking at. But I just respected that you had integrity and you cared about people and doing things, and you were doing the deals. And I'd see these other gurus out there that were just so much hype and charging, and they're making their money selling things. And so you consistently have been somebody doing deals. Did you do deals the entire time when you were in Belize? I'm curious.
Oh yeah, I took a break when I moved for the
Mm-hmm.
first year or so and just really restructured. Yeah, I've said this a couple of times. I like to joke that, we have all said at some point in our life, man, if I could just start over, I
Mm-hmm.
would do things differently. And there's nothing like a 2 year long, ugly, nasty divorce to give you that ability to say, if I could just start out all over again, how would I do
Mm-hmm.
things? And that's exactly what I did. I took a break and I said, okay, I want to do things differently. Number one, if I'm going to live out of the country, I have to do things differently because I can't go touch that house and meet that seller and meet my buyer. I can't. I was for a long time. I did pretty much everything myself. I'd go do my own title work. I would run around, hire the contractor, get stuff done. But you can't do that when you're 3,000 miles away. So you have to put a team in place, and you have to just decide you can't be so scattered. And for the first 12 years of my investing, I was a transaction engineer. We did rehabs, we did lease options, we did owner financing, we did Section 8 rentals, and bought houses specifically to fit with those criteria. But after I moved out of the country, I said, I can't do that anymore. So I chose the things that were the easiest to do that could be done from a long distance away, and that was buying subject to and selling with seller financing. So that's what we went with, and that's what we do, and that's all we do. So Kevin's back. I don't know if his mic's working. Let's see, we've got some more comments on the licensing. Having a license exponentially increases the likelihood of litigation. I agree with that. I've heard that a bunch too. Hey, Kevin.
Hey, can you hear me?
Oh, listen. Oh, you got his mic working. Great. So,
Oh.
man, we got a lot of stuff to cover here. We didn't get to talk to you about Zillow, so I know you got some thoughts on that.
I kind of agree with what you guys are saying. I don't know if, Zillow has so much data, if this is that canary in the coal mine as far as the housing market goes.
Right.
I don't know if they're dumping all these properties because they've got some operational issues internally where they need to raise cash. But my thought on it is that I definitely think being one of the bigger players in the market clearly indicates that, that cloud's getting darker and darker over the housing market. So it's a matter of when, not if. And I also think that as this thing starts to unfold, the government's going to do its best to kind of intervene and manage the crisis in stages so it doesn't all come apart all at once.
I agree with that too. And I'll tell you, I don't think it's as simple as a shortage of cash. I think if they were running low of money, they would have just kept it quietly raised the additional funds, kept buying on a smaller scale. There is something to a huge announcement, we're out. Okay, there's something to, there's got to be. I mean, that's just my opinion. I mean, I don't have a crystal ball or anything, and I don't work for Zillow. I don't know, but I think when a company that's bought 9,000 houses over the last however many years says we're out, we're going to lay off 25% of our staff, we're going to lose $500 million, that's pretty significant, I think. So I have operated under the assumption myself that any company like that that's doing that kind of volume analyzes the heck out of the market. They've got artificial intelligence analyzing everything that moves, people, staff that do it, and they said now's the time. Or maybe we're actually a little late. I think that's kind of what happened, but that's just me.
On a different note, William, I don't know how you guys feel about this, but there's going to be in my humble opinion too, there's going to be a self-managed component to this thing. And I know you and I have talked about this. I posted it in the group about this affordability crisis, and income is not keeping up with the high cost of the way these home prices are going up. So there's going to be a lot of people, regardless if they have equity or not, if you don't have sustainable, verifiable income, it doesn't matter if you can sell or not. Where are you going to go? If you want to stay in that prospective area, house prices have gone up 10, 15, 20%. Maybe your income has gotten cut. Maybe your credit has gotten trashed. So you've got $100,000 worth of equity, but unless you can sell that property and pay cash for your new place, a lot of people don't have a viable exit strategy. So what I mean by self-maintain or self-manage is that a lot of people are going to game the system, just like in 2008, and they're going to stay in these properties as long as they possibly can before they have to be forced to get out. And I think that's going to be part of the self-managing foreclosure as this thing unfolds.
Right. As we see more foreclosures come up, more people that are trying to keep their house and have things going on like that. Kevin is one of our podcast sponsors, and it also has a great course on loan modification. And really, when Kevin told me what he had there with that loan modification course, I knew that it was a perfect segue for investors, to go in and meet with people in foreclosure, because if they can't buy the house, if the people aren't ready, if they want to keep it, it's something that they could recommend to help them try to keep their house. Kevin, you want to tell everybody how they can find your course and go take a look at it and talk to you about it?
Oh yeah, sure. I appreciate that plug, William. But it's foreclosure.us. If you want to talk to me offline about it and how that works or how it could potentially benefit you as an investor, you can email me, Kevin@strongjacob.com. I just hired a consulting company to kind of manage some of my marketing. Remember, William, you and I were talking a couple months ago. I was having some issues with that. It's very, very expensive, but it seems like I'm getting a lot more traffic to the site. So we're going to see how that works out. I've only been dealing with it for about 2 weeks, but yeah, that's probably the best way to go to prevent foreclosure, or just email me, Kevin@strongjacob.com, and I'll talk to him offline to figure out if this is a viable solution for him. But as you said, ad nauseum, a hard to help is the long play, but it's always the right play.
Right. So that's preventforeclosure.us.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Great. Okay. So y'all go check that out. Let's see. We've got a couple of comments here. I'm not sure who this is. Texas realtors sometimes have limitations on what they can write in contracts. For instance, it's illegal for them to put escalation clauses and so on. I think it depends on goals if an investor should get a license, or will be limitations. I agree. If it works for you, great. Personally, I don't like it. I don't want, I had a student ask me the other day, I'm looking at getting a license. Do you think I should? And I said, well, if you want to be an investor and you're considering being an agent, you have to consider this. Your broker is going to have to be okay with what you're doing. I've had some people tell me before, well, I can't really do subject twos because I talked to my broker about it and they don't like it. They think it's illegal. So if they find out I'm doing that, I won't have a job. I mean, gosh, so. Let's see. Stacy said, I had a quote from Zillow on a home worth $475. Their quote came in at $580. I asked them if it was a typo. They said no. The inspection was scheduled 8 weeks out, and during the wait, they dropped out of the market. Maybe there were internal issues. So they had to stop everything and figure out their system flaw. Maybe it was their system, not their cash flow. Okay, it could be. We don't know. I guess, were they going to pay you $580 for that house? Because, man, I would absolutely let him have it. Matt says, hello, good to see you, Matt. That's great. Can you repeat his website address? It is preventforeclosure.us. Maybe my producer will drop a banner in here for us. So, yes, Stacy says, yes, they were going to buy the house. Well, I would absolutely sold them that house for $580. I guess that's out of the question now. So, on the licensing thing, I just don't think so. I just don't think that's something I would want to do at all. So, are you starting, Kevin, to see more homeowners approaching? I mean, you have homeowners as well that you deal with, not just investors, but homeowners actually looking for loan modification. Are you seeing an increase in that right now?
I have, within the last, let's say, 3 weeks, more so than before, because I think everything is just trickling out. People are coming up to me that qualify for certain FHA loan modification programs where, without getting into the weeds of it, they'll reduce the principal and interest payment by 25% if they have a FHA owner-occupied and they've been in forbearance. And these lenders, William, are just flat out telling people they don't qualify for it. They're not sure about the program. They're just blatantly lying to folks. Right. As you know, which happened in 2008. So it's incumbent upon somebody who's a distressed seller to know what the rates are from a consumer perspective. But overall, I have seen an uptick, but the floodgates, if you will, have not unleashed yet. And I think because, as I said earlier, I think the government is trying to artificially manage this crisis and have it trickle out so it doesn't have the same impact it had in 2008.
Right. Well, the foreclosure moratorium ended now, I don't know, gosh, a couple of months ago. And you're seeing more foreclosures now, but it didn't go back to normal. But I mean, if the banks hadn't already started the process, which maybe they couldn't even start it. So that's going to take a little bit of time, I guess, to get that going. Marcia said your website address doesn't appear to be working. Preventforeclosure.us. So
tell them to email me directly.
Yeah.
The marketing company I hired, they kind of changed a little bit, so it could be down for maintenance right now. But if she wants to send me an email, I'll send the other link. Yeah, just email him, Marcia. It's Kevin@strongjacob.com. So let's see, we've got another comment here on the licensing.
Reni's an agent or a broker in Colorado Springs. She said, as a new licensee, it'll be difficult to find a broker to allow you to do both. The real estate commission in any state doesn't like it, and realtors do what the real estate commission supports to stay out of the gray. Well, a tip I can give you is to find a broker that's also an investor. There are a few out there, or just get your broker's license yourself, or better yet, don't get a license. That would be my advice.
William, I'm licensed in Washington, and I'm more so in the loan mod. I don't do the subject to that much, or just starting to get into it. But I've noticed the people in my brokerage that are actually doing it. You need a company that's decentralized. And what I mean by that, you've got these brokerage companies that may give you 100% of your commission. Everything's kind of automated. They're not really running you through traditional programs. They're not overwatching you, so to speak. So you got to find, as you indicated earlier, you got to find the right brokerage company that's going to be investor friendly. But if you go into a John Scott or one of these big players or Remaxes that got these formal training programs that are going to be micromanaging all your deals, it's going to be very difficult to be a licensed agent and do the investor thing at the same time. If you can find one that's a little bit more decentralized, they're not micromanaging your activities. It's just more so from a compliance standpoint.
Right. My recommendation, if you think you need a license, because some of the argument from some investors are, hey, I've got a license, I can make 3% on this side. If I can't buy their house, I can list their house. I know Nick Monge is in our coaching group. He's a broker in Denver and just slays. Of course, he doesn't, he works, he's the broker, so he doesn't have the boss. I don't know how he manages it, but he does a good job. Maybe if he's on here, he'll say something. But I don't think the whole licensing thing is a good idea. If you feel like you just have to have it, get your spouse to get it. Just for whatever it is, for if you do rehab, sell it, get the 3%. I'm telling you, it's working for tips, guys. It's working for tips. I don't think the potential for liability is worth it. I just don't at all. So that's just me. Let's see, we got a couple of comments here. Matt said your website worked for him. Okay. Marcia says, as long as you disclose, you'll be fine. Okay. You ever run into a homeowner, Marcia, that doesn't like agents? I have. They just, maybe they had a bad experience. Maybe somebody listed their house and didn't try to sell it, whatever the case was. I've run into that before, that they have a lot to say about real estate agents. Let's see. Matt said, I bet the next wave will be short sales. You're probably right. I've thought that too, but I guess that just remains to be seen. But yeah, you better brush up. I went online. I was looking for someone. We've got a lady, Nicole Espinoza, in our other group, our smaller group, that is a member, and we had her on here a few weeks ago, actually. But other than her, you can't find a short sale teacher anymore, really, because they've been out of the marketplace. Yeah.
Hey, about Nicole, she has a short sale book. It's like Mastering Short Sales. I have it. I purchased it. I've read it. Would highly recommend somebody who's interested in the short sales purchase that book. Very well.
Right. We had her on here a few weeks ago. She's great. Yeah, for sure. So let's see, Jody. Oh, don't let a license stop you. No, absolutely not. I know, Jody had a broker's license and she bought and sold houses. So I guess as an investor, and yes, even better, a spouse. Correct. Let's see, Ben said there was a state-by-state listing of investor-friendly realtors at REI Club. I don't know if that's still there. I'm not sure that website is still very active. They may still have that list there. I know they shut their forums down, so I don't know what's going on with that. Let's see. Get rid of your license before getting rid of investing. Absolutely. Let's see. The requirement to be licensed to wholesale is coming. Yeah, but they're also working on the workarounds, I think. That's, you know what I mean? Again, we talked about that earlier, a strong lobby, right, Mark? In Texas, you know, about having to have the RMLOs, and same thing. The realtors are a huge lobby, so yeah, they want to fix that. Matt said he was looking at that book, Nicole's book. I haven't read it, but I'm sure it's very good. She's very knowledgeable. She said even in this market, what I can't remember the exact number. She said they were doing about 100 short sales a month or something like that. It was amazing. I work with realtors. I'm a realtor and put my LLC in escrow. If I need something, I just ask them. Too risky for investors. Yep, I agree. So it seems like most of the investors. Okay, so I guess Marcia got into your website. So great. All righty. Don't wholesale. All right. What's the solution, Rainey? Tell us what's the solution. Are they talking about that in Colorado about having to be licensed to wholesale? Is that something that's going on there right now? I'm not sure. So I don't know, guys. What do you think? What do you guys think about the market right now between Zillow and the restrictions and all the things that we've talked about today? Um, let's break out the crystal ball. What's gonna happen here in the next 90 days, 6 months? What do you think, Mark?
My posture always is it's always a good time to buy because there's always people who are having problems and need help that the bank can't help them and real estate agents don't know how to help them. And as long as I like the old transaction engineer. If you're the transaction engineer and you can bring multiple solutions to the table, and to me the seller is the client. The seller is the person who I focus on helping, and if I can listen and ask questions and understand what their needs are, and a lot of times, nobody else. There's not everybody that has an answer, and if you keep going, because you provide so much education, if you consistently study everything you're offering here and get out there and talk to enough people, there's deals to be had right now.
Absolutely. People are always losing their job. They're always getting a divorce. They're always losing. Something's going on in their life. COVID didn't change it. We may have had some roadblocks with foreclosures and things like that, but there are always people that need to get rid of their house or that their house is a problem. Carla asked, what is Nicole's, let's see, where'd that go? She asked about Nicole's book title. What's the title of that book, Kevin?
I forget. I think it's like mastering short sales, or the mastering guide for short sales, or something like to that effect. But
okay.
If you type her name in Facebook and go in her group, she's probably got something on it or link there about how to purchase her book.
Carla, she's a member of the Sub2 forum, so go tag her. How to master short sales? Okay, great. That's it. So there you go. Walter said, what do attorneys call realtors? Defendants. Hey, Andrew, good to see you, Andrew. Andrew says, how does Kevin get to take a goat to work? The way the thing's laid out, it looks like Kevin's got the goat there with him in the car. So that's funny. Michael asked, are your courses actual DVDs or are they downloads? We ship courses, Michael. We're still old school. If you order a course from us, you're going to get a couple of binders. We have gotten away from DVDs, though. You'll access your documents, the digital copies online. So we have made that move. We're trying to. We'll get with the times pretty soon, my producer says. Can Opendoor and OfferPad be next to pull the plug as Zillow did? Wouldn't surprise me. I don't know. What do you guys think? You think all of the iBuyers are going to go out of business, or is Zillow just the first one? I mean, or the only one? You think everybody's running out of money, or everybody's getting out of the marketplace?
I don't know, William, but I tell you what, some of those big property management companies over in China, that's a very concerning problem that a lot of people in this country are overlooking. China's problems will become our problems eventually, in my humble opinion.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
Yeah. Dina has an interesting question. Wholesalers are making things harder, but how can you require licensing without violating the fundamental concept of equitable title? There are court rulings every day now that violate the Constitution. Would you guys agree?
Yes.
We've gone from following the laws to, I don't think that's right, so I'm going to say you can't do it anymore. That's how it works now. So, those things have to be challenged. And until they are, the states can make the laws. I mean, I know in a few states now supposedly you have to be licensed to wholesale. There are some workarounds, but that's a topic for another day. Let's see. What's Sherman say? Oklahoma, Illinois, Georgia have wholesale laws and regulations now. Yep, that's for sure. All right, guys, we appreciate everybody coming on today. Appreciate you guys for popping in, Kevin and Mark, as always. We appreciate your expertise. Guys, join us every Thursday. We're here at 8 a.m. Pacific and corresponding times across the country. So we're glad you joined us today. We're going to get out of here, and we'll see you next Thursday. So, guys, thanks again for being here. We appreciate you. All right. We'll see y'all next time.
Bye.